Citadel Forged with Fire was one of those games that instantly brought joy and stood out to me as a refresher. At the time trying this game out, I was already pretty active on Steam trying out a bunch of new survival games that would vary from concept to concept. Some were more enjoyable than others, some I instantly disliked because of the poor combat system. But nonetheless, upon trying Citadel Forged with Fire and paying at the time $39, I immediately fell in love with not only its execution and content delivery, but simply because this title made me feel the way I haven't felt in a while playing the game. Playing a survival game that has a very cool atmosphere, very original if you will. This was Hogwarts Legacy before Hogwarts Legacy even became Hogwarts Legacy, just perhaps in the survival form. Although taming creatures and other animals in the game is not prohibited and it works, the main focus has clearly gone towards you being able to craft your very first broom and use that as your main way of transportation. And that was something I couldn't get enough of. Sure, taming a phoenix or even a dragon sounds a lot cooler on paper, but there was something special about using a broom as your main source of transportation. And of course, they came in different tiers and variations, but the speed and maneuverability was certainly the strong factor of using a broom over a creature. Arguably, brooms are easier when it comes to usage. It wasn't taking any damage from opponents, whereas using a creature you were at constant risk of losing it in a battle, which becomes a reliability issue in the long run. Acquiring resources in Citadel Forged with Fire has also been one of my favorite mechanics in the game. Instead of running around and using your axe to gather wood and pickaxe to collect stone, you had an option to acquire a spell which would then allow you to collect resources more efficiently and with speed. If you saw a tree somewhere in the distance, instead of running up to it and hitting it, you had a distance play towards your advantage. In fact, the game would encourage you to do so. Crafting spells was certainly one of those main elements of the game. Unfortunately, it was also one of the biggest steep curves in Citadel Forged with Fire. For beginners, there was no other way of knowing what a particular spell would do except for just trying it out. Maybe it was the way the game was intended to be in the first place, right? Personally, I just found that to be a bit more confusing. Obviously, as my time with Citadel grew, I grew accustomed to it. To say that the game would instantly make sense and get you on board fairly quickly is not exactly an accurate description here. As a matter of fact, I'd go as far as saying that learning this game at first is always the hardest thing. But once you get the hang of it, how things work in the game, that's when the fun truly begins. Crafting different dishes and potions which aim to help you in your journey is always a pleasure. Building simple huts, which then transform into huge scary castles, is always a blast. And one hell of a journey to be a part of, to say the very least. Having a teammate or a friend join you in your journey and grind through different tiers and biomes is always an adventure. But it doesn't necessarily stop there. Depending on the server that you choose, it will outline your experience. You could join a server that is boosted with loot and experience points, or vice versa, you could join a server that is relentless and punishing in the most grindy way possible. And trying to outlive its rules and harshness could be another way of experience altogether. Whether you enjoy more casual gameplay or choose the other alternative and pursue PvP style of gaming, the game allows you to have both worlds, and that is incredible. Citadel Forged with Fire has been complete, and for a while now, and its development has come to a complete stop. There has been no major updates and announcements about any further plans. And although that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, rest assured, this game was not abandoned in a shady way. It came to a complete stop after its full release. They released another biome that they spent a good amount of time on, and after that was complete and over with, I think they just decided to lay this game down and pursue other games, or perhaps other projects, and no longer pursue Citadel Forged with Fire as a sole project. And although it may be a hard thing to accept for some, especially to those loving the game and just enjoying it, maybe leaving this game behind at its polished and finished state was the best thing for this game. Not necessarily the community, but for the game as a whole. I think allowing this game to be modded would have been another way of boosting it and perhaps saving it with a bigger audience. But not even pursuing that just tells me that they reached their goal and maybe it's time to move on elsewhere. And I can't hate them for it. I had a good time with the game and it was fun while it lasted. As a matter of fact, I will always revisit this game, even years down the line.